Hello, everyone. How are you doing on this wonderful, wonderful Monday? Thank you so much for tuning in to week 3 of Master Your Plan. Yes, we have made week 3. It has been on a phenomenal, phenomenal 2 weeks, and I'm so ready to kick it off for week 3. I know we're going to have a good time. No, my name is Shanika Hunter. I am a career coach that works with millennials and X on finding your passion, achieving your goals, and reaching your maximal potential. Okay, I'm here to help you once you step into that new career of your dreams and reach your destiny. So I'm super excited to be here today. We have had some amazing webinars over the past 2 weeks, and we're going to go ahead and get into it tonight to give you a little bit of breakdown about what we've been talking about. So I want to show you kind of like the process of what we've been going through. So the first week was really just an introduction. You may have been at the point at that time where you really didn't understand, still been kind of in that fuzzy area of really understanding who you are and what you want to do and understanding your why, okay? Maybe you had an interest, but maybe you didn't understand your why and you didn't have a purpose behind it. So that's what all that week was about, was really tapping in to that purpose and that passion of yours, okay? Second week was all about researching, okay? And what I had you guys do as assignments last week was research a few industries that you may be interested in and pick one out of those few, dive deep into that industry and really start finding out a good amount of information about them so you would have an idea about them prior to applying for a job or speaking to an employer. I feel like that's very important, and sometimes we like to jump the gun and really kind of get ahead of ourselves and have that background knowledge that's so needed prior to us going into a field. So tonight we're going to be talking about your first impression. Yes, your first impression. Many of you all probably apply for jobs right now through job boards. Typically Hired, Career Builder, Monster, and various others. Okay, those are just the main platforms that house, or the main databases that house a lot of sources for jobs. Okay, familiar with those platforms, and I'm sure you have used them in your search for positions. Okay, but what we're going to talk about tonight is what your employer sees as soon as they open up your email or they open up your application, your resume. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. I want to make sure we have enough time in case there's questions. But yeah, so give me 1 second. Of course, let me share my screen, and then we'll go ahead and jump into our lesson for tonight. Thank you again for joining, for you, those of you who are on, and we're going to have an amazing night. All right, doing some stuff. Here we go. Outs, but sometimes you can just be a little bit too much. All right, excellent. All right, so as you guys can see, we are in week 3. Whoop, whoop, we are in week 3, and tonight what we're talking about is your first impression. And again, my name is Shanika Hunter. I am the founder and CEO of Your Heart's Desire Career Coaching, where I help millennials and the Generation X find their passions, achieve their goals, and reach their maximal potential, okay? So last week, as we talked about a little bit earlier, was all about you finding an industry of your choice. Okay, last week was all about you finding an industry of your choice. I had you complete a skills assessment, and I had you also complete an accountability log as well. And of course, you had your Friday journals. So last week, I decided to incorporate Dropbox. And I sent you guys an email about this a little bit earlier, but I decided to incorporate Dropbox to be able to house all the information just in case you need to go back to it so that you don't have to filter through your emails. What I forgot to do was I forgot to tell you all that using Dropbox, you will have to or create an account to be able to view the assignments. Luckily, Dropbox is free. Okay, it doesn't take up a lot of space. It doesn't cause any malicious malware or spyware or anything like that on your hard drive, so you can feel secure with that. But you would have to create an account or download the app, or possibly both. Okay. Some of your evaluation and feedback on that, if you found like it was useful using Dropbox, because as you see, we're using a little bit of a different method. I'm just trying to hash it out, figure out which one is best, and I would love you guys' feedback on that. So just anytime, feel free to email me some feedback on the week's assignments, of course, but the platforms that I'm using them on, if they're working for you or not. Okay. All right. So last week, yay, wonderful, wonderful last week, we began our one-on-one sessions, which, as some of you know, happen every Thursday. Okay, for those of you who are part of the class, you know that before even beginning the class, you knew that every Thursday you were going to have a one-on-one session with me, and that you needed to send in a content form to be able to be on the schedule to receive those one-on-one sessions. If you sent in the form, then of course you're receiving them, and unfortunately if you didn't, then you're not receiving them. Okay, one thing I want to talk a little bit about is, I know some of you guys are into a lot of various activities and things like that, and you're making hard efforts to be a part of this class. And I thank you so much. Y'all have no idea how much that means to me. I'm just so happy that you are tuning in every week and gaining this wonderful knowledge. Okay. What I would ask though is that if you have already signed up for a one-on-one session, and if it happens that you cannot attend that session, to let me know at least 2 to 3 hours ahead of time. Okay, try to let me know at least 2 to 3 hours ahead of time. I know things come up sparingly, so even if it's less time than that, please just give me a heads up, as it will allow me to maybe put someone else in that spot, or figure out some shuffling around that I can do with the schedule, because I want you guys to remember that it is a schedule of people on there, and so I do want to make sure that I'm respecting everyone's time, you all are respecting my time, and that we have that type of relationship going on. Okay. All right, so if last week, if you were on the schedule and you were not able to attend the one-on-one sessions, I will need some type of follow-up this week prior to that one-on-one session, an email stating you know, that you're still interested in the one-on-one sessions and the best available time to reach you. Okay. If I don't receive if I receive feedback from you this week, call and I'm not able to reach you again, unfortunately, after this time, I wouldn't be able to do those one-on-one sessions anymore with you, just out of respect for my time and the others' times that I'm working with. So again, I would need some follow-up this week if you missed your session from last week, and you want to make sure that you attended this week, because if you don't, and I give you a call, I wouldn't be able to hold those one-on-one sessions with you anymore. Okay, and I don't want to do that, because I know you all are super passionate about this. All right, so we're going to jump right on into it. So again, this week is all about your first impression. So what is a first impression? Okay, well, a first impression basically is that initial contact, that initial impact, and that influence that you have over somebody else. It's basically that influence that you have over someone else to be able to grab their attention. Typically, people, when they first meet you, they are already able to form a mental image of you after their first encounter, okay? And typically this happens within the first few seconds of them meeting you. So typically that's as soon as you open your mouth, or that's as soon as you make a gesture to hold your hand out and to shake someone's hand, or even to give someone a hug, to embrace them, whatever the case may be. They already have a mental image of the type of person that you may be. So that says a lot about first impressions and how people read them and everything like that, okay? Want to be remembered in the right way. So next week, when we kind of talk a little bit more about networking and things like that, I'll probably get a little bit more into branding and marketing. But just to touch on it a little bit now, is you definitely want to make sure that you are branding and marketing yourself in the right way, okay? You want to be remembered in the right way. You don't want to be remembered for anything negative or anything like that. So yourself in the right way. And like I said, typically people will have that mental image of you within the first 2 seconds, okay? You always want to make sure that your first impression counts. First impressions, of course, they don't always have to be in person though. Typically when we think of first impressions, we think about meeting someone, whether it's at an event, a workshop, a conference, or just in public. As we go out, we meet people all the time. So we always think of first impressions in that manner. And of course, that's the one that we know the most. But in addition to that, all first impressions in the career development process when we're sending out resumes, okay? When you're sending your resume to an employer, that is their first impression of you. They haven't seen you. They most likely haven't spoke to you. So by you sending in your resume with information about you, that is your marketing technique. That is showcasing who you are. They get an analysis of you from that document. And typically it takes recruiters and hiring managers 6 seconds. 6 seconds to review your resume, no matter how long it is, okay? Some it may take less time than that, some it may take a little bit more, but they're not spending a lot of time on your resume. So within that little bit of time, you really have to make an impact on them. You really have to make an impact on them and make them want to continue reading your resume. Okay, resumes are the most common way that people that are the most common form or documentation that people use to apply for jobs. It concisely showcases who you are, and recruiters and hiring managers, they look through these documents to identify candidates that attract their attention. Typically, on average, most jobs receive about 118 resumes. Some receive a lot more. I've spoken to recruiters who have said they receive on average between 200 to 300 resumes every time they post a job. So the 118 is average. Some receive a lot more. So you're really going to have to figure out a way to stand out in that bunch. How can you do that? You're competing with 200 to 300 other people. They're weaning through those resumes like crazy. People that attract their attention. You have one chance, one. Typically, most people only, you may have two in certain situations, but typically you have one chance to market yourself to employers. But once you understand the strategies, you will find yourself being able to capture there's more attention of the, you'll be able to capture the attention of more employers, okay? Okay, so strategies to make your resume pop. We always want that little something extra in our resumes to really make it stand out, that little pop, that little dazzle, that little sparkle, whatever you want to call it. It's all about standing out and being seen. Okay, who are you? Who are you is what you need to be asking when you're reading over your resume. Can somebody read that concisely? Can somebody read that concisely? All right, so what we're going to be talking about tonight is the concept of tailoring your resume, objectives, executive summaries, education and certification, experience, and skills. Okay. All right. So I speak about this so much, but I cannot say enough. You have to tailor your resume. imperative. If you are looking to gain a position in a field that you are really interested in, you cannot do anything. We have moved past the era when sending one-size-fits-all resumes were acceptable. A long time ago, that was acceptable because a lot of the information that was given to us a long time ago was about making sure that we showcase all of our experiences and all of our talents on our resume. I'm pretty sure some of you remember that. When you were told by career counselors or your teachers or your friends and family that when creating your resume, you need to make sure that you showcase all of your experience. And back then it was really just showcasing like, what did you have experience doing? And did you showcase it in the right format? Is it readable? Is it understandable? Things of that nature. Well, we're past that now. Employers are tired of reading untailored, unrelatable resumes. Okay, if you don't have experience in the field, they don't want to speak to you, basically. In a nutshell, they don't want to speak to you. In today's society, you really have to showcase your skills and experiences to stand out. Like I said before, a lot of these positions are receiving hundreds of resumes. So you got to do that something extra to be able to stand out in that crowd. Fits-all resumes are a waste of time. You may think that you're doing something amazing by sending your same resume out to 10 employers in one day. Woo, I just applied to 10 positions. Well, in a couple weeks or in a couple months, see how many callbacks you got by doing that. Most likely, you're not going to receive any. Most likely, you're not going to receive any because you're sending out a one-size-fits-all resume and it's not probably relatable to the position that you're applying for. And the recruiters and the hiring managers are probably having to wean through your resume and do some analyzing, remember, all in 6 to 10 seconds. They're really trying to figure out what you do, why you apply for the job, could they use you? They're trying to figure all this out in a short period of time. They don't have time for that. So it's a waste of time. If you're going to do that, if you're going to use a one-size-fits-all resume, to be honestly, your services would be much better used doing something else. Going to work out, cooking, going to the store. I mean, really, it's just a waste of time. You're not getting anywhere by doing that. You may think you are, but taking the lazy route really isn't going to get you anywhere. Your resume will be overlooked or placed in the no pile. Okay? So you really want to be realistic with yourself. And I speak to a lot of people about this all the time. So I speak a lot, of course, about finding your passion and your purpose and things like that. And it's very important, but you also have to be realistic with yourself. If you're shopping that same resume around, and let's say you are applying for a program manager position, right? And you know about the program manager field, but you really don't have that much experience in it. You have a little bit, but it's still at the entry level, okay? You gained skills, but you haven't gained skills on the managerial level, okay? So you're still learning a lot about the field. There's no reason that you really should be applying, not just yet. Eventually you can, especially if that's your dream job. Eventually you can, but unless you can pull out a lot of skills that are going to showcase you in the managerial field, there's no reason you should be applying for a program manager or a program executive or anything like that, because they're going to expect you to have those skills and those knowledges at that level. And if they can't see that displayed on your resume, they're not going to choose you. You have to be realistic and understand the skills that you already have. That's why I had you do that skills assessment. Understand the skills that you already have. That's why I had you think about your passion first. Understand your interests and your strengths and your weaknesses. So when you get to this stage, you're just not making these decisions on a whim. I really don't know what I want to do. I'll try this, I'll try that, I'll try this, I'll try that. When you get to that stage of I'll try, I'll do, maybe, I'm not sure, out of that. And if you do get something out of it, it may not be something that you're actually interested in. So you have to take that time for yourself. Self-questions. Experience to do X job. Why am I interested in this position? Questions like that. This does time on the waste. So by you putting that in and by you really honing in on those skills and showcasing them on your resume, you're not wasting time. You're developing your future. You are developing your future. So you don't have time to waste. Use that time and implement some strategies and put them into your resume. I'm here as a resource to help you. Reach out to me. Let me know what's going on. If some of you don't know, many companies use what's called an ATS, tracking system. So your resume will be searched and sifted through by them using certain keywords that are relevant to the position. So if you are applying for, let's say, an admissions counselor position, they're going to look for recruiting, sales, maybe marketing, interview prep, things of that nature that's going to relate to the specific position. Systems and processes, things of that nature that's going to relate to the position. Typically, and I'll get in this a little bit later because I'm going to show you an exercise and it's going to lead into something you're going to be doing this week. But typically in the job description, they give you those relevant skills and things like that that they're looking for. So you already have some of the keywords in the job description. You just have to be able to recognize them. Again, so if your resume lacks relatable information, it will be overlooked. Trust and believe. Trust that. It will be overlooked. You want to include skills and talents that are relatable to the job, to your experience, okay? You must tailor your resume every time you apply for the job. I'll put this again at the end because I can't say it enough. Your resume has to be tailored. If it's not tailored, you're not going to get a call back from employers. You are doing yourself a disservice. You have to spend that time with yourself and really, really know what you want, know the industry that you're going into, and implement those strategies and put them into your resume. Make it pop. Because you have the skills and knowledges in your head. It now just has to be showcased on paper. Okay? All right. So the next thing is objective. To be honest, and many of you all know an objective as, of course, the top section of your resume. When people typically say, I am or seeking X position within Y company to develop my ABC skills. That's a typical basic objective that I've seen a lot. I've written objectives like that too. So I know all about it. But the thing about it is when you think about an objective, typically what a lot of people are doing when they're creating these statements are they are restating the job description in their objective. Your employer already knows what position you're applying for. If you're applying for that project management position, or that project manager position, or that project executive position, there's no need to state that in your objective. Project manager position with a growing company so I can develop these skills. They know that you're seeking that position, and they know that you need certain skills to be able to do the job right, and they understand that you're probably going to be growing your skills as you're doing that job. So there's no reason to restate that information. An objective is not needed. Like I said, employers have about 6 seconds or so to view your resume. So typically, employers will skip over this section or wean your resume out from the bunch because it does not match the job description. Okay, it's filler information. Filler information. Now, what I can say, what you can put on your resume is an executive summary, which is different than an objective. An executive or professional summary are summaries that explain large bodies of work. Instead of using an objective, you can incorporate an executive summary. I have one down here that I recently created for a client that I was working on the resume. So this is their executive summary, and I'm going to break it down for you in a little bit after I read it. So, energetic personal trainer with over 5 years of experience and a strong background in resistance and functional training. highly motivated to help others meet their health and fitness goals, promotes activities and coping methods that transform unhealthy habits and fuels healthy minds and bodies. Now, it was a little bit longer than this, but this was the gist of the executive summary. Now, as you see, I started out this summary with a strong statement, but I also started off with the metric, 5 years of experience. This is something that is going to immediately catch an employer's eye. Why? Because when you put years on something, it really helps them see the wealth of knowledge that you may have. Okay? By someone putting on their resume they have 15 years of experience or something, that's really going to catch someone's eye. I mean, think about it. If you were reading over somebody's information and they said, oh, I have 15 years of experience, you would probably be like, wow, really? Like, you must really know your stuff. What employers are thinking too when they immediately see that, and it makes them want to read more. So executive summaries are really, really good if they're done right, because all it's doing is really showcasing your skills that are laid out already in your resume, but it's putting them in a concise fashion. And this is something that's going to automatically catch an employer's eye because it's creative. Be very, very generic, and many of them sound the same. So employers are inclined already to skip over them, whereas executive summaries, I mean, everybody's executive summary is going to be different because everybody has different experiences. Does that make sense? All right. So the next section is education. All right. This section is needed because employers want to know the type of education you receive to see if you meet their basic requirements. The next time you look at a job description, which will be pretty soon, I'm just letting you know. The next time you look at a job description, most likely it's going to say something like, you know, you're required to have a BA degree, or you're required to have a master's degree, or a BA degree is required, but a master's degree is preferred. These are typical things that you're probably going to see on the job description. Now, the thing about this is the education is very, very important because they're looking for that. But it's also just meeting a basic requirement. Employers are basically using this information to basically see that you can, that it's persuading them to see that you can do your job effectively. Typically, this section includes your school name. So if you got a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or even a doctorate degree, it's going to have your school name, the degree that you earned, the location, your date of graduation, and sometimes your GPA. Typically, you'll see a lot of people including their GPA, a lot of recent college graduates. If you graduated from college a while ago, it's really no need to put that on there. The main things that I included, like I said, school name, degree earned, location, date of graduation. Those are what employers are going to be looking for. If they want to know more information, typically they can ask to see your transcripts or your degree. But other than that, this is what they're looking for. All right. So there are varying ideas or strategies about where this section can go on your resume. Okay, it can be at the top, it can be below your experiences, etc. However, I have found that it's best to showcase your relevant experience and your skills first, and then include your education, because basically what it's doing is it's attracting your employer into those skills and those experiences, which are most important, which are really what they're digging into. Okay, and then include your education. But this is still very optional in a sense, because this is where that research component comes in. Because if you're dealing with a company that is really, really heavy on education, then you may want to include that first. Why? Because you know that's what they're mainly going to be looking for. You know that's going to be the main deciding factor on whether you get a call back or not. So you may want to include that first. But if you're just applying with a regular corporation and you know you have the basic experience or the basic or you meet the basic requirement by having the degree, then what you want to do is showcase your skills and your experiences first, and then just show us your education next, that you meet that basic requirement. Okay. The next thing that some people include on their resumes, if they have them, are certifications. And this is another great asset to your resume. They again showcase your knowledge in certain fields. However, when incorporating certifications, you want to make sure that you are incorporating relevant certifications. Okay, example of this is including, let's say, a personal training certification for an administrative assistant position. Unless you can show a direct correlation, there's really no need to include that certification on there. Now, if you are able to obtain an interview and they ask, of course, at that time you can give it to them. But with this being your first impression, that eye catcher, that attention grabber, you want to make sure you include those relevant certifications. Okay. Again, some other good things to include are awards. People want to know what you have been rewarded on, okay? How have you been recognized? This section provides evidence of your qualifications. It shows that your work has been highly recognized, okay? And it makes employers feel more comfortable with your experience. However, what I would do is when using this section or showcasing your recognitions is avoid using vague statements. Such as like college graduate with phenomenal grades, okay? If you were on the dean's list and the chancellor's list in college, use something more catchy, such as college graduate consistently named on the dean's list and the chancellor's list for 8 semesters. Why? Because again, you have that metric in there, that 8 semesters, that really helps them show like, wow, that means they were on for their whole college career. It really gives them an idea of the type of award and what you were doing, other than this vague statement with phenomenal grades, because that can mean anything. Okay. All right, so the next section is your experience. So this is all about your work history, okay? This section is used to verify that your work history matches your company's position, mission, and goals. Are you qualified for the position? Does your experience stand out and showcase this information in the most relevant way? Okay. Again, you want to make sure that you are incorporating relevant work history. What if your last relevant work history was years ago? Okay. It's important to have an understanding of your job description because it will be beneficial to you in the future. You want to take the relevant job duties from the job description and post them in your work history section, okay? And like I said earlier, I'll show you an example of this later. So when thinking about the formatting and the location of your experience section or your work history section, this section really should not be that wordy, okay? Some people like to use the sentence format. That's not really eye-catching. Why? Going back again to that time frame that you have to attract someone's position. Recruiters and hiring managers, they don't have time to be reading paragraphs. So you want to make sure that you are using bulleted format that allows you to concisely state your job duties. Okay, you want to use action words that will attract an employer's attention. You want to avoid repetition. You want to attract from the first bullet. I'm going to say that again. You want to attract the first bullet. They don't have a lot of time to view your resume, so that first bullet needs to be off the charts phenomenal. Okay, and to be honest, your job duties really shouldn't really exceed 5, no more than 6 bullets. You want to get straight to the point about what you were doing. You don't want to list a whole 20 duties or 30 duties that you had. That's going to take up a lot of space. What were your main duties, and what are the ones that are relevant to the position that's, again, going to immediately catch the employer's eye and make them say, wow, like their past experience really does correlate with what we're doing, okay? Can typically be placed under the skills section. Again, and you want to stand out. You want to show up and show out. So you need to stand out and attract attention. All right, so the next section is your skills section. And I don't know what it is, but for some reason, many people do not include this section, or they do not format it in an appealing way. Okay. Your skills section is basically practical and real world things that you have learned and that you know how to do. That's all it is. real world things that you have learned and that you know how to do. You want to stay away from using overarching or vague skills such as like, I'm a great organizer, I'm an excellent communicator, I'm a social media expert, I'm a project manager. For some people, they may understand what you mean by this, but for many they won't. And why? Because these are overarching skills. And what I mean by that is there's so much that goes into a lot of these. Organizer, communicator, there's so many detailed skills that go into that, okay? So you want to show and prove. So you want to, like I said, you want to break those skills down to detailed and understandable skills. For instance, like your ability to gain and maintain clients through negotiation, your analytical you're an analytical expert on Facebook and Instagram platforms, your knowledge of Chronos, you know, you're able to really break down these overarching skills and really get to the straight to the point about what you can do. That's basically all the employers are looking for, is for you to get straight to the point. But many people are missing the mark by not getting straight to the point, which is why their resumes are being overlooked. Straight to the point. That's it. That's all they're looking for. They don't need all that extra stuff. Get straight to the point. Okay? Your skills give your employer a deeper understanding of what you can do. For instance, if you and I'm sorry, I see there's a couple typos in here. I do apologize about that. But if you say you are an expert with HR systems and you are able to name a few systems you have experience with, this will make the employer feel a lot more comfortable with your knowledge rather than you just stating, oh, I have knowledge of HR systems. Chronos or eNav or whatever the case may be, they're gonna be like, oh wow, like we use those systems too, or that was an old system we used to use, but it correlates with our new system very, very well, you know. So it's really helping them get that clarity on what you can actually do. Again, they're looking for you to get straight to the point. Remember, your resume is your first impression, so you always have to put forward to stand out. Okay, formatting of your whole resume. All right, so a lot of people ask about the fonts and the color, the heading, and the references. Okay, so I'm going to go over this a little bit. And with fonts, you want to really, it is up to you. Use a font that is too large, and you don't want to use one that is very, very hard to read, because of course with a lot of fonts that, if you're using Word that are, for instance, like cursive, they're hard to read. To be honest, you need to be using straightforward fonts. Times New Roman, Georgia, Calibra, Tahoma. These are straightforward, and especially Times New Roman, of course, as many of you know, it's very professional. It's very, very professional. There's a lot of other professional ones too, but you want to look for the most professional font. Okay, you don't want to be all creative with the fonts and switching them around and stuff, because that's just going to throw employers off, to be honest. You want to be consistent. With the color, you can add some color into your resume. I know I've seen people, they've done, you know, the dark blue. I've seen, I have seen like some oranges. I wouldn't suggest bright colors, the yellows, the bright oranges, and the lime greens. It's just throwing them off. Okay, if you want to incorporate something kind of classy, like a dark blue or a navy blue or something like that, then that's completely fine. There's a lot of templates out there that can kind of give you a guide to how you do that. I'll be showing you some as well. But you don't want to get too crazy with the colors. In your heading, though, you do want to make sure at the very least that you at least have your name, your address, and your phone number. If you do not have these things, how do you expect an employer to be able to get back in touch with you? Especially if you didn't fill out an application, because sometimes you're applying for a job by just sending in your resume and your cover letter. So if this does not showcase your contact information, and let's say an employer pulls your resume but not your application, now they're going to have to search back through the bunch and find your application to be able to get your contact information. They shouldn't have to do all that work. It should be right there on your resume. So it needs to be at the top under your name. The address and the phone number should be under your name, and your name should be pretty big. that is known. Again, you're standing out. So make it big, make it known. If you want to bold it and underline it, that's fine. But it needs to be known. References. Okay. Two things with the references. Get rid of the vague statement, references available upon request. And employers already know that. If they want references from you, they will request them, but you don't have to put that, because if they ask for that, you will give it to them. Okay. The second thing is, sometimes people like to incorporate the references into their resume. There's no need to do that. The reason for sending your resume is, again, you're getting straight to the point. You're just showcasing those skills and those experiences to really, really showcase your skills. There's no reason to be including in your resume. If it's needed later, make sure you have them available, but there's no reason to have that in your resume. Okay. All right. So what I would like to do now, guys, is I spoke a lot about these different areas on your resume. I can go a lot more into them, but this is just like an overview. Okay. So what I want to do now is give you an exercise. So part of your assignments for this week will be to choose 2 job descriptions that are within your industry. And remember, you were supposed to pick an industry and a sector last week. So you're going to find 2 job descriptions. Actually, I changed it. It's going to be 3. I'm sorry. And find the keywords in them that can be used on your resume. Okay. And you're going to use a system called WordIt. WordIt is a word cloud maker that finds keywords for you. So it helps you out just a little bit. So I'm going to show you how to do that. All right. So as you see here, I have an example of an admissions representative job description. Okay, that is showcased on my screen. This was obtained from Indeed.com, but it's under Delta Careers. Okay, so that's the site that it took us to, but this is the admissions representative position. Then we have another one for Duke University for an admissions officer position, again found on Indeed, and it took us straight to the Duke University website. If I was thinking about applying for a admissions counselor position and I was super interested in both of these positions, and I'm like, I'm struggling to find the keywords, I can use WordIt to be able to help me. Okay, it's not going to help me with everything. I'm still going to have to do a lot of the bulk of the information or the bulk of the work myself, but it's going to be able to assist me just a little bit. So this is how you use it. So this is WordIt right here. This is the site, WordIt. And what you do is in this section, you are going to put the 2 job descriptions. So what you can do is just copy and paste them and put them right here, just one under the other. And then what you're going to do is hit generate. Sorry, I went back. 1 second. So you're going to hit this generate button. Once you hit that, you're going to get to this screen. Okay. And as you see here, they have about 93 words shown. There's a few down here that couldn't fit in the word cloud, but you see they have a lot of different keywords they were able to pull out for you. As I talk about in the information you'll receive for this week's assignment is you want to look at this information, but you want to avoid using, okay, school, start, college, you know, the MMS, MQM, like stuff that one is already known or stuff that just is not relatable. Okay, you only want to use the relatable words that relate specifically to the position. So for admissions, if you use like recruiting or something like that, as you see, recruiting is up here, and that's completely fine. You see market, so you can talk about, you know, marketing techniques, relationships, building relationships with the students, managing your time, managing your students, managing all your paperwork and things like that. That you've had with your previous students, any type of programs that you've created, your enrollment metrics or enrollment strategies, for instance, like networking and things like that, and being able to reach out to people. I'm just pulling a lot of different things out to you, but this is how this can be used, pulling out those words and really, really breaking them down. Okay. And my screen keeps going to this next section, so I must get to this last screen. So we're on the last screen here, and it's all about what you will be doing this week. So of course, as you saw, I just took you through the worded out exercise. Okay. And when we get to the question and answer section, if you have any questions about that, just ask. But you will be doing a worded out exercise. Okay. So you will be picking 3 job descriptions, putting it into the generator, hitting generate, and producing that cloud. And then you will be extracting keywords that are relevant to those descriptions. Okay. And then what I'm also allowing you to do is play the role of an employer. Playing the role of an employer this week. I'm going to be providing you with 2 resumes, okay? You're going to be reviewing a job description and 2 resumes. And what your job is going to do is you're going to use the information gained from this from this webinar, as well as your own knowledge as well, or any knowledge that you gain, because I always encourage you to go out and search up your own information as well. So using all that information and thinking about if the people who I give you, if these are people who you would actually hire. Why or why not? You will need to provide a detailed analysis of that. And this exercise is important because then you'll be able to get an idea of your own resume. Would or would not hire you. What do you have on your resume? What are the strengths of your resume? And what are you missing? What can be improved upon? And so with that being said, you will be updating your resume as well this week. Okay, so this seems like a lot, but it isn't, because the worded out exercise really doesn't take that much time. And depending on how good you are with your resume techniques, the employer exercise may not take that much time. The bulk of your time really should be used updating your resume. But I want you to do those other 2 exercises first to really get you prepared and in the thinking process of being able to do so. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my screen. All right, so I am back. Okay, so that was basically all that I had for you all tonight. But what I do want to know is if you all have any questions. Of course, you can put them in the box. I will get a notification if you have any questions. And so I want to wait for a little bit because I know I kind of went through that information maybe a little bit fast. And so I definitely want to give, in the event that anyone has any questions. Like I said, you can put them in the box. Let me see, make sure this one is working today. I'm gonna give it probably about another minute or so. Some of you all may be still thinking, but I want you to think about this information and really, really think about if you have any questions or not. Your questions may come later. That's completely okay. I'm always available by email. But if you have any questions now while I'm on here and available to you, go ahead and ask me. Like I said, I'll give it another minute or another couple seconds, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap up for the night. And how it will work, guys, as usual, is I will send out, or you will receive your assignments for the week tomorrow. Do a document with all the information you'll need to know about completing this week's assignments, as well as our one-on-one sessions this week. I forget to mention one thing. Due to the fact that this week is resume week, I know that it can be very, very stressful, and it's going to take you guys a little bit of time to be able to update your resumes. And I know we have one-on-one sessions coming up this week. Do is offer you an additional offer for just being amazing. Okay. If you complete all of your assignments for this week, okay, if you complete all of your assignments for this week, I will give you an additional session where we will go over your resume. Okay, so you complete all assignments this week. Sometime that week, we'll set up a session and we'll be able to go over your resume. But that's only, again, if I see that you completed all the assignments and that you put some actual thought into them. Okay, guys. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and log off for tonight. You all were simply amazing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Shanika Hunter. I am a career coach and the founder of Your Heart's Desire Career Coaching. I work with millennials and the Generation X on achieving your goals, maximum potential. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, I can be reached at huntershanika@gmail.com. I hope you guys have an amazing night, and bye.